iTouch or your iPhone, and we're going to put a little tiny speck of something that floats around in your arteries and alert you 2 weeks ahead of time when you're going to have a heart attack. The technology's out there. We actually have it. Oh yeah, you know, I'm just for fun, I just got this to test my bracelet. This thing monitors my sleep pattern, it monitors how much I move, tells me the calories. I just got it to play with because I'm a geek, but you know, it's just fun. And this is where we're going to be going. That's going to be preventive health care. It's going to monitor your blood pressure, tell you when you need to do something. There's a lot of stuff to do. You know, I'll tell you one here, I'll tell everybody, here's your free medical advice though tonight. One of the best, and this is why I say when they tell you about preventive health care, we're really not telling you anything. Probably we have a national deficiency of vitamin D. It turns out that vitamin D is not just a vitamin, it's an anti-aging hormone. If women get their vitamin D levels, it's not just about your bone, if you get your vitamin D levels up above 55, you decrease your risk of breast cancer by about 85% statistically. I mean, there's just nothing it doesn't make better. They've shown, I keep a file, every time I read a paper that comes out about what vitamin D does. It decreases dementia, it decreases arrhythmia, it decreases the risk of all sorts of cancers. I mean, it helps your bone. You can go on and on and on. Well, anyway, but where do we ever hear that? Does the National Cancer Society or any of these government things tell you this? I mean, really, vitamin D, they've shown if your vitamin D levels are up, you don't get the flu. It's better in the Japanese study, it was better than the flu vaccine. If your vitamin D level's up, you have a better chance of surviving from cancer. So there's a lot of stuff we know, but we're not promoting. And so that's real preventive medicine, is doing something like that. Cheap, effective, everybody ought to take it. And if you don't think you need it, my most non-compliant patient is my husband. He used to play 18 holes of golf 6 days a week in Arizona, and he refused to take vitamin D or be tested because he says, well, it's just I'm out in the sun all the time. And I said, okay. And then he would chit-chat with his interns that he played golf with. And I said, okay, I'm tired of hearing about you guys. Would you admit that if I test you and you're low, that everybody's low? And I tested him, and he was 20. And normal is like considered 22 to 100, but really 22 is not normal. So he was really in the toilet on this whole thing. Finally, he let me give him vitamin D. So, but you can get $11 and give you 3 months worth. It's real cheap. But now I work 2.5 days a week because given the tax structure and given everything that's happening, it's just not worth it. It wasn't worth paying for the overhead and keeping the system going. So I'm highly trained, but I'm just not doing the job I was trained for. I'm enjoying my life, but I'm not really participating. And the new guys, I got to tell you, the other thing is, and my son's a medical student, and I love him dearly, but the new guys coming out, they want to be shift workers. They want to work 8 hours and go home, which we didn't do. So right now, the older doctors are extending the manpower. The big crisis in medicine is coming, and that's why I'm trying to write this book, The Medical Meltdown, how to help you take care of yourself when this happens, because, as Ralph says, they're going to retire. I'm going to retire. I think it's over 50%, for example, in orthopedic surgery, I know over 50% of the people manning the emergency room doing trauma call are over 50. And we're all just ready to just lay down. So we're aging out, and no young people are coming to take our place. We only have 6,000 oncologists, cancer doctors in the entire nation, guys. We only produce about 500 general surgeons a year. That's terrible. Where I was in Arizona, we're at 75% Medicare. Now in Flagstaff, they had 12 guys doing what we did with 4 in Yuma. And that's when we were in a business death spiral because Medicare was killing us. And so it was all government medicine, and we had to, and I said, I can't do it anymore, and I left, and my partner at age 53 died, just worked himself to death, and they got 2 guys down there now for a population that's one of the fastest growing communities in America. It's terrible. That's what's going to happen. And that's just, if you want to know what it's going to look like here, just look at Yuma, Arizona now. Because that's what's going to be. I had a 3-month, 4-month waiting list just for routine stuff. So.
How will this affect people in I'm a veteran, I've been on the VA system for
the VA system?
years. How will that affect the people on the VA?
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, you've already been affected. I mean, I have friends that use the VA. My husband actually has gone to the VA once. There's some VAs kind of vary from region to region. One of the things the VA is benefiting right now is they're getting people, I mean, I don't mean this the wrong way, but it used to be that when you couldn't really work on private practice for one reason or another, you weren't very good, you weren't very personable, you could always get a job with a VA. So it kind of had the bottom of the barrel. That's not true. It hasn't been true for a while because people just get tired of all the nightmare they have to do out in the real world to keep their practice going, and so they go into this government facility and they work a shift and they're happier. They did a survey and they said the unhappiest doctors are 50-year-old internists, and so they're getting out and they're doing other things, and that's benefited the VA right now. You know, the spotlight's kind of on the VA because of the Afghan vets and stuff, so they're not going to collapse overnight, but they're just a microcosm, you know, of what's going to, I mean, it's all going to, we're all going to be in the VA system. That's what this is going to, where we all are in the government system, and it, you know, there's some downsides to the VA. I mean, let's face it, so. But I don't know that it's going to go any bad, any worse. It might be sustained longer, actually, than private medicine, than Medicare.
I've got articles that I've posted online, and if you go to medibid.info, okay, there's articles, a lot about, yeah,
That's
my
the blog, yeah.
There's a lot about Obamacare, a lot about economics of medicine, a lot about vitamin D, you know, and stuff like that. There's all kinds of articles there. So you can subscribe to the blog. If you want to contact me, at the very bottom where it says contact us, you can just go there and, you know, get in touch with me. So.
All right. One more, and then we're going to let people go home. Sleep.
Every day along the American-Mexican border, there's probably at least 100,000 people across the border to get drugs. And I can envision in the near future 100,000 going across the facility getting treatments for other things. But I'll warn people here right now, when you come back across customs and you've got a bag full of prescription drugs, when they ask you what you have, say prescription drugs, I made the mistake of just saying drugs.
Don't do that. And people go down and get their dental care.
Yeah.
You know,
Great dental care. I've got
it's,
an awful.
yeah, and it can be good. But it's a free market, so it's let the buyer beware. You know, there's some guys that are not such good sterile technique guys, and they come back with big abscesses. The patients do. So I have a friend that's an oral surgeon down there. But see, my practice was five miles from the Mexican border, so I was there for years. So I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, business.
Yeah, across Mexico. My patients that couldn't afford an MRI in America would go over to Algodones, they get an MRI for $250, $300. And it was a good quality MRI. They bring it back, we look at it, no problem. You know, that's cash. And so I give them credit for that. I asked my friend, this is just a little off the subject, but I had a friend that's a urologist, very well-trained guy, Mexican. He said, well, you know, Romero, why are you so good, but we see some of this god-awful stuff from Mexico? And the problem is in Mexico, they don't have any requirements that you have training after medical school. So they train 22,000 medical students a year, but they only have places in residency for like 2,000. So everybody else just goes out and hangs out a shingle. I are a neurosurgeon, you know, so you get what you pay for. So you just have to do a little more research on who you're dealing with. But there's a lot of stuff good. The problem down there right now is that the drug cartels are making it, you don't want to live down there anymore. People used to go down and live, they get their medical care, they get their drugs. They retired on a salary, but they couldn't retire well in the States, they retired down there. But they don't do that anymore.
Just the border towns are bad.
Yeah, well, no, you go deep inside, you know, there are places, I have very good friends that are Mexican, and I used to say, oh, Alex, I'd love to go see where your family's from. Oh, no, Doctor, you don't go down there, you'll never come out. I mean, that's all drug, if you're not part of the drug family, you don't come out. It's bad. It's,
By the way, they don't allow the citizens to have guns either.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. But they also don't, if you're down there and you're an American and get desperately ill, you pay cash and you don't get any care. So you don't get free health care down there. Well, thank you very much for coming.